for the Warriors. In the third quarter, Andrew Bogut suffering a gruesome knee injury, and that is the news of the day as we go to David Aldridge for an update on the Warriors center.
Well, yeah, Vince reported about half an hour ago that Bogut suffered that sprained knee in the third quarter. He will not require surgery, but the projected recovery time will take him out of Game 6 and 7 of the finals. There's just not enough time for him to recover. If you remember, Steph Curry had a knee injury similar to this, and he missed 3 weeks before he was able to come back. So that's, we're talking about even more time than that. It's a big blow for the Warriors. Their starting center, the guy that really is one of their defensive anchors. On the other hand, I think it does just force Steve Kerr's hand, and it's going to be hard to see him not going to what they call the lineup of death going forward, with Draymond Green coming back from the suspension, essentially playing center along with Iguodala and Barnes up front. So that's been their closing lineup. They're going to have to probably go to it a little longer right now. We don't know what Steve Kerr is going to do, and he probably will not volunteer that information right away. He could start Festus Ezeli. It's possible. Instead of Bogut. But I would guess that he would probably look at that death lineup very early and very often in Game 6 and, if necessary,
Thank you very
Game
much.
7.
So there it is, David Aldridge. First to report that Andrew Bogut is out for the remainder of this series. Good job by DA. And he mentioned the other bigs, and let's talk about them a little, because in Game 5, basically invisible. Ezeli had the only basket of Festus, Andy, and Spates. Otherwise, they're combined 1 for 9 from the field.
When you lose a guy like Bogut, he does so many things for you on the offensive side. Probably the best screen setter in the game. And a lot of their offense depends on him setting screens. And in Game 5, they're without Bogut and Green in the second half. So you've really taken away their interior defense when you take those two out of the game. Now that Bogut's out of the series, of course, Golden State will look to go small and can be effective playing small. But make no mistake about it, you're going to miss potentially the best screener in the game, because he's usually the one that gets Thompson and Curry open.
Yeah, one of the other aspects about Andrew Bogut's game that would surprise a lot of people, he's one of the best cutting centers in the league. He does a great job of timing his off-ball movement when Steph and Clay have the ball on the weak side. We've seen throughout the year the lob plays along the baseline with Andrew going over and slipping the screen and them getting an easy two. So the interesting thing in this series is that he's only been averaging about 12 minutes per game in the series against the Cavs. There hasn't been a lot of the on-ball screening. The Golden State Warrior team actually is one of the fewest screen-setting teams with pick-and-roll options. So I don't think that that's a huge importance for them. What I feel like the biggest miss is the familiarity of what it is that Bogut brings for the rest of those guys. They can predict where he is. They know what kind of defensive presence he is. They know when he's barking out orders with the accent on the backside of the defense. That, to me, is what they'll miss in the minutes. But he's not really effective in this series. I think Ezeli is fine. He's played 35 minutes in the series to Bogut's 60. But DA is right. It's going to be more the small ball death lineup for what Steve Kerr is going to do in this Game 6 than anything else.
Well, he does have potential to be a great shot blocker. We saw that early in the series when he had the early blocks. And to your point, Bones, great communicator. With Draymond, the guy that can really communicate defensively.
I just think a guy like that, in the few minutes that Bogut plays, and just how familiar they are with the orders from behind, Andrew Bogut's experience is helpful to the Warriors. That's something they'll miss. It won't be that much. It's a big blow for Steve in that he just doesn't have the option to have another big. It's going to be Ezeli, but it is time for the death lineup is going to play just a